3, 2, 1. Ready? MACtion.
It's going to be tipped and caught! It's caught! It's caught in the touchdown, Western Times!
Daniel out of the pocket. He's going to try and run for it. Breaking tackle. Down. He gets popped. He lost the football.
And he scores! On the last play of the game! Unbelievable! Holy guacamole! Watch this hit right here! By Dejon Anthony. He said, "Get that man some milk!"
Don't you dare skip that channel. You are tuned in live with Talking MACtion.
Welcome on in to Talking MACtion. I am Dominic Clary. Thank you for joining in. We have a good one here. Last week we had a good week of MAC play. We had another great battle of I-75. We had an upset of an overachieving Eastern Michigan team versus an underachieving Akron team. And seeing those two teams collide, we saw a game that came down to the wire, and we had a Ball State team that closed things out too. We have a lot of good things to talk about. Talk about some power rankings. We'll talk about next week as well. But let's start into this week. Next week, not a lot of games, so we'll be a shorter episode. Only a handful across the MAC. I'll make sure to get into those. We'll talk about some betting, some of my picks, and we'll go from there. One of the first games that we saw was Ohio. They welcomed in Buffalo, who was 4-3 at the time. Not anymore. Ohio, good performance. 47-16 is the score that Ohio wins by. Let's see. Coleman Owens, 3 touchdowns on the day, 146 yards in the air. He had a good game. It's impressive to see this Ohio team kind of quietly be one of the better teams in this conference, as they are 1 win away from bowl eligibility with only a handful of weeks left here. Seeing them, welcome in Buffalo and beat them the way they did. Again, Ogbonna, 257 yards and a touchdown for Buffalo, but did throw the ball 39 times. So you keep the ball off the ground and you keep Buffalo throwing the ball. That is a way to win against Buffalo, and that's exactly what they did. Miami dominated Central Michigan. This is a Central Michigan team where things are not going the way that you want. Emmanuel's, he's most likely benched for the rest of the year. They don't want to hurt him anymore. I believe he has a year left, but we'll see. I don't think he did not play enough for his eligibility to run up. So we'll definitely see him again. Who knows if it's in a Central Michigan uniform? They may want to move on from the Manuel Jr. era, but I will be curious to see what happens there. Brett Gabbert only threw the ball 12 times, 165 yards, and a touchdown. Mosey, 15 carries, 120, and then Tracy, 1 TD. Wow, they really were spreading the ball out, weren't they? Henry Hessen came in, threw a touchdown. Let's see. Yeah, they had some. Yeah, Jordan Brunson scored a touchdown on the ground. So did Davis. And then Tracy and Virgil both scored touchdowns in the air. So you do like to see that there for Miami. Akron, they start off the game, or the first half. They're winning 18-0 in that first half. And I mean, let's just look at the predictor here on the box score. It went from a prediction of Akron winning the whole time to Eastern Michigan with a 99% win. Yeah, so it was projected in the third quarter 95% win percentage for Akron. Okay, so it went to 57% in favor of Eastern Michigan, back down to a 73 and a 76 for Akron. Then it went up to a Let's see if we can get this here. And that's about a 70% chance win for Eastern Michigan, then 100% when Akron sealed the deal there at the end. Impressive victory for Akron. They have not closed games out the past few years, and seeing them be able to do that is exactly what you want to see. Ben Finley, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 121 yards off of 12 completions and 22 attempts. Taj Bullock, 2 rushing touchdowns. Like seeing them use him on the ground a little bit more. Saw a little bit of that. Adrian Norton had the game-winning reception. Bobby Golden was their leading receiver. Not having Alex Adams is really hurting this team. I mean, he's been out majority of the year. I don't think he's played yet, unless he played the first game of the year against Ohio State. But not having him has really, really hurt Akron. And another team that's hurt bad is NIU. And as you can tell in my rankings later, not looking good for them. They have dropped big time. This is an NIU team that is not faring well. Losing the bronze stock to Ball State's one thing, but 4-4, they were ranked after, what was it, the second, third week of the season. Golden opportunity to be a team that's considered in the college football playoffs, and just not the team I thought they were going to be this year. And when you allow, Simone's to throw the ball all over you, and Pemberton to run the ball all over the place, it's just, again, he only had 14 carries for 69 yards, but you can't allow something like this to happen if you're an IU. It's a point where you're looking at Hammock and you're thinking, yeah, he can get us to a bowl game, but this isn't what we signed up for. We gave this guy an extension because we believed that this was going to be the guy to put us back on top for years to come. And that has been the case. His team has severely underachieved the past few years. They made a bowl game last year, but that's just no excuse. They have struggled since they won the MAC against Kent State just a few years ago, and it's not the case anymore. It is not the Rocky Lombardi Northern Illinois Huskies like we're familiar with just a few years ago. Bowling Green and Toledo. Bowling Green controlled this game from the get-go. They threw a lot of pressure at Gleason, and they ran the ball extremely well. It's 41 points. Their worst quarter was the third. Worst quarter was the third, and had a 10-point fourth quarter, shut out Toledo in the fourth. Just a phenomenal day. Terrion Stewart, 21 rushes, 99 yards. He had a good day on the day. Newton, I believe, became the all-time yard leader for Toledo wide receivers. He had 9 receptions for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns, so congrats to him. Gleason had a weird day. It was good when you look at the numbers for the most part of the 15 incompletions, but he had 2 picks, 1 for a pick 6, which really did him in right before half. If that doesn't happen, they're walking in with the lead or at least a tie ball game. And because of that, they end up kicking a field goal at the end of the second half, or end of the second quarter, pardon me. Still just didn't do much for him because you throw that interception right before that, just moments before, and now you're trying to recover the rest of the way. It's just unfortunate how this game played out for Toledo. You have a packed house, crowds behind you, not able to stop the run game for Bowling Green. And that's why Bowling Green is good. That's why they're 3-1 in MAC play, and wouldn't be surprised if they end up going to the MAC championship because that's how well this team has played. Should be surprised they won the Battle of I-75, but winning 41-26. Again, not a large margin, but expected it to come to the very, very last possession of the game. Not the case here. Western Michigan blows out Kent State 52-21. Western Michigan 4-0 in MAC play. It's been a dream season so far. If you were hoping that Hayden Wolf was going to be your guy, he's proven it now. The senior, 208 yards, 3 receptions. Nixon doing well with 8 carries and 135 yards. It's interesting about this rushing attack from Western Michigan. You thought Jalen Buckley was going to be your guy, and he is carry-wise, has 80 yards. But Zaire Abdus Salim, he has 83 yards off 6 carries. Jay Nixon, once again leading rusher for the team, 8 carries, 135 yards. Again, touchdowns for Lowry, Buckley, Abdus Salam. Or not Abdus Salam, sorry. Buckley had 2 touchdowns and Nixon had 1. This rushing attack was deadly. Then Hayden Wolf for 3 touchdowns as well. Blake Bosma, he scores in the air, and so does Kevin Mack. Let's see. Luke Floria, touchdown for Kent. I'd like to see when he can score in the air. He's a talented wide receiver. 15 carries and 62 yards for Kai Thomas. Not what you want to see. You want to see a little bit more production on the ground from Kai Thomas. Utowski, 12 completions, 24 attempts. Only 114 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Treshawn McCray also threw a pass, apparently. I'm not able to watch this one. I was following it when I could. Hard to watch all the games when you're at one live. That was it for the games last week. Let's go into the power rankings for week 10. So not much change with Western Michigan. They stay 1. Should be surprised there. They're 5-3, only undefeated team in MAC play. Ohio, they move up 6 spots. They're 5-3. Toledo behind them, they drop a spot. Actually, that is wrong. They did not drop a spot. I believe they stayed where they were. Let's double check just in case. So they stay at 3. So that's my mistake there. Not posted yet, so no harm, no foul. Bowling Green, they go up 4 spots. They were pretty low last week. I was surprised when I realized how low I had them. They're 4-4, move up 4 spots. Miami's 4-4, moves up a spot. Eastern Michigan 5-3, but that loss to Akron moves them down 2 spots. NIU, they move down 2 spots as well, 4-4. The former number 1 team in the MAC in my power rankings, they continue to plummet. Buffalo 4-4, they drop 6 spots. They were second just a week ago. Ball State 3-5. They move up a spot. Central Michigan drops. Akron and Kent stay the same. Akron, I would have jump over Ball State, but that win over Ball State gives them a better record, gives them more momentum. Ball State having a slightly better season than Akron. Anytime that you can beat your rival, and your rival's NIU in the MAC, I would consider it a good season in Ball State standards. Again, they are still bowl eligible. Are still bowl potential, not bowl eligible, they're bowl potential. If they can win 3 games in a row, out of their last 4, they'll go bowling. But seeing if they can do that will be interesting to see. I don't know if that's quite the case here for Ball State. I feel like they'll lose more than just 1 game at the end of the year. Let's look at their schedule, actually. They don't play for week 10. A lot of teams are off due to MACtion play. Let's see who Ball State has the rest of the way. I'm interested to see. I mean, they had a tough schedule at the beginning. They beat Missouri State first game of the year. They had that weird week 1 bye. They get killed by Miami, lose to Central Michigan when Central Michigan was playing well, lose to a James Madison team that was hot at the time. Western Michigan, of course, not too many teams are beating them. They beat Kent and beat NIU. And in between that, they lost a good Vanderbilt team. The rest of the way, Miami, I don't see them winning. So actually, I could see them losing all 4 of these. Maybe they'll steal 1 against Buffalo, but I could see this team losing all 4 rather than winning 3 out of 4. I have them losing Miami. I think they'll lose to Buffalo, but that's a potential win for them if they play well. And I think they'll lose to Bowling Green. They could play Ohio tough, but I think they'll lose to Ohio as well. Let's talk about some Week 10 action. Ball State not included in that. They will play Week 11. This will load here. So only 2 games. Buffalo and Akron. of a writer there for Keon Sports. If you want to look at the article there, or look at the articles there, all the game stories, Brandon Marvel does great work. He'll be there as Akron tries to get their third win on the season. It would be their most. 3 wins would be their most. Let's see. That might be the most wins that they would have in a long time. Let's see, Akron football records. So, you look at Football Reference, usually it will help you out. They've never been ranked in the AP poll. Not once. It's always interesting to see. I hate when you're looking. See, it started you on top here. So, when Terry Bowden was the coach, was when they were at their peak as a team. It started off rough. So, they had that really good season in 2005. They were 7-6, but they went to a bowl game, so I guess it wasn't all that great. But they haven't been to too many bowl games. 1975, they started off as an independent. 75, and then must have gone down to FCS, where it was on Division I AA at the time. Then they come back up at 87, 88, and 89. In 90, 91, they were an independent. Jerry Faust was the coach as they entered the MAC. 4-7, 5-6, 6-4. They would go bowling now. I'm not sure how it worked back in the 90s or in the 80s. 3-7, 5-6. First year in the MAC, 7-3, then 5-6, 1-10. Gary Faust must have been fired. Then Lee Owens, he was the coach from 95 to 03. And he had 2 winning records. He was gone after 03. J.D. Brookhart, 6-5 his first year, 7-6 his second year, which was the highest win total in school history in the FBS level. Wow. What a just incredibly unsuccessful program. And then Brookhart, 5-7, 4-8, 5-7, 3-9, assuming he was fired. 2010, Rob Inello, he's 1-11 his first 2 years. He's let go. Then Terry Bowden, he's 1-11 his first year, but they're giving him time. And then all the way up to 2018, they were a better team, 5-7, 5-7, 8-5, which is a great year. They go to the Potato Bowl. I believe they lost in the MAC championship in 2015. I think I may have said 2005, pardon me. And then for Bowden, they went 7-7 again. Go to the Boca Raton Bowl, they lose. And then the year after, they go 4-8. He's gone. Tom Arth was there for 3 years, 2.5. He's let go, middle of his third year. So the last time that they had more than 3 wins was 2018 with Tom Arth. 0-12. 0-12. You can't go from 4-8 to 0-12. And this is before the portal was in yet. It's a year before the portal. And then 1-5 during the wow. Incredibly bad program throughout. And then Joe Moorhead, 2-10, 2-10 right now, 2-6. Could be on pace for 3 wins. It would be a big deal for him. And curious to see if we can find a potential second win on this schedule. And, they won the game they should have won with Colgate. And, again, Eastern Michigan, good win. They can beat Buffalo. They can beat NIU. They can beat Kent. I don't see them beating Toledo. But you can have a third, fourth win, maybe even a fifth win. I doubt they do it. Stacking wins has been nearly impossible for Akron. But, they can win 3 in a row, make it 4 if you count the Eastern Michigan game. They can end the season strong. Again, they can go bowling if they beat Toledo. but you're leaving that in the chance of a Toledo team that's most likely going to be fighting for an opportunity to go to a MAC championship game. And that's going to be really, really hard for Akron. I cannot believe how incredibly bad they've been. They've never been ranked. They've never won more than 9 games or more than 8 games. They've only ever won 8 games. And that's because they won a bowl game. They've been to 2 bowl games or 3 bowl games. They've only won 1. And JD Brookhart not able to. Let's see if he went anywhere else. He only coached at Akron. Absolutely insane. I have to find out more because I was a little kid when this happened. JD Brook. He only coached his 6 years. And apparently he did some stuff with Colorado. Let's see what year this was. I'm curious what year this was. He was at Pitt. Pitt doesn't appear in the postseason. So he worked at Pitt. Sorry, I'm not reading the whole thing. So he was hired in 2010 after he was let go from Akron. I believe he's back on the staff, actually, helping out. It's just surprising that he was never able to get more success than he had while he was coaching. But I know Moorhead was on that staff, and he trusts him to help him put a winning product on the field because he did it there at Akron. And obviously, it's not an easy thing to do. So let's talk about these games in depth. I'm going to have Akron beating Buffalo. I think Akron can move to 3-6. Buffalo moving to 4-5 and looking more bleak when it comes to getting into a bowl game. Ultra Henderson, only 455 yards on the year. I predicted him to be near 1,000, not the case. I predicted him to be a 1,000-yard rusher a few years ago, actually. What year is Ultra Henderson? Junior, his sophomore year, freshman year it may have been. I projected him to be a 1,000-yard rusher. He was barely used. Maybe next year is the year for that. I'll have Akron winning, which means I'll have Akron covering the spread at -1. The total is 47.5. I would take the under. It'd be risky. 47.5, not high. I would take the under. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. Both teams kind of rely on the big plays at times and don't really string drives together. Toledo and Eastern Michigan. I'm going to have Toledo bringing out their frustrations. Eastern Michigan. This is going to put Eastern Michigan behind when it comes to MAC play and trying to get into a conference championship. Toledo, I think, wins by more than 9.5, so I'd take the spread there. I'd also take the total over. I'll take the total over 54.5. I think Eastern Michigan's going to put a few points on the board, but I think Toledo will end up pulling away at the end. All right, that's it for Talking MACtion. Appreciate you joining in. Only a few weeks left, and make sure that you're joining in and following on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, or on the Across the Sports World YouTube page. Appreciate you watching and following along. We'll see you next week.